Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Dayspring Discussions. I'm your host, Sean McGahee. In this show, we talk about movies, TV, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books. If you geek out about it, we're going to talk about it. You can listen to Dayspring Discussions on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Patreon, wherever, guys. And while you're there, go ahead and like, rate, review, subscribe. Then head on over to the Facebook group and Twitter account and share your discussion with us. Don't forget, dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com is always there for you. All right, guys. Well, we got a doozy today. And, of course, it's Star Wars related. And who better to help me tackle those tough Star Wars issues than none other than the Queen of Naboo herself, Miss Lisa Locke McGahee.
Hello.
All right, guys. So we're going to go through something that might get a little heated here. But it's something we definitely couldn't ignore. Just going to throw it out there. I'm going to throw out a bunch of facts. And I want to tackle this topic from two ways. First, I want to talk about the actual story and the validity of it. And then I want to talk about the story. If it is true, how do we feel about it? Okay, so what I'm saying, guys, is on Friday, a story came out from Slash Film and said that they had two confirmed independent sources that Rosario Dawson is going to be playing a live-action version of Ahsoka Tano in Mandalorian Season 2. So go back a little further, back to, I think it's 2017 when this started, where Dawson was in some interview and they were asking if she wanted to be in Star Wars, who she'd want to play, and she said that, I'd like to play Ahsoka Tano. So that led to fan art, fan petitions, and campaigning pretty much for the role, which a lot of, actors, they'll say they want to play a particular role and people get caught up in it. Most famously that I know of, the actor Tyrese Gibson for years has said he wants to play Green Lantern, and he's put out fan art and all this stuff, which would be horrible. And then most recently, you have people wanting John Krasinski and Emily Blunt to be Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman in a new Fantastic Four movie. It's nothing new, okay, with this. And this one with Dawson has been going on for a while. The most recent version was back in October. She was doing another interview, asked the same Star Wars question, and again, she said Ahsoka Tano. She thought it'd be cool, and then this led to an actual headline saying that she was going to be Ahsoka Tano, not, just rumored or, a fan wish or whatever. Well, this story came up again yesterday, and like I said, Slash Film, it's not a horrible source like We Got This Covered, but it's not exactly the Hollywood Reporter where you can take it to the bank. It's somewhere in between, actually. So, people took this story and they ran with it. I saw it spreading all of the internet like wildfire. And I tried not to think too much of it because Disney, Lucasfilm, Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, Rosario Dawson herself, nobody else was saying, nothing was confirmed in that matter. So I didn't really take it to the bank. However, later that afternoon, Variety said that they confirmed it. Now, Variety, one of the top three trades in Hollywood, Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, Variety. Variety, probably my third favorite of the three, actually, but they're usually pretty solid when it comes to their news. They try not to just throw something out there for headlines like a lot of these amateur sites do. So, it's one of those things that had me actually start to take this story seriously. So, that's kind of what I want to tackle in the first part of this, of how solid do we think this story is, given the fact that it's something that technically has been going on for a couple of years now, and no one at Disney and Lucasfilm has confirmed it, which doesn't mean anything in my eyes, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. But Lisa, just off the top, what do you think about the story and the validity of if it's true or not?
Oh, I don't know. I don't really follow these kinds of stories like you do. So, I definitely think it would be odd if it was true in that, like you said, this all started with her saying years ago she'd like to play Ahsoka, and then it keeps kind of popping up, and I don't know how often do do those things actually happen where somebody kind of says, oh, I want to play this role, and then it actually happens?
Never.
Like, exactly. Like, I mean, that right there, people don't generally campaign for a role, and then the studio's like, you know what? You're exactly right. You are exactly who I want to play this role. Like, that, I don't feel like happens all that often. So, and then also, it definitely is suspicious. Not suspicious, but the fact that, you know, generally when stories like these, when you do see these scoops, pretty quickly the people who actually are involved will confirm it.
Yeah.
And the fact that we haven't heard any kind of confirmation, but we also haven't had necessarily, Disney hasn't necessarily come out either and said this is absolutely nonsense. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it still could be, but it definitely, I'm not 100% convinced yet.
Okay. So yeah, so kind of speaking with that is, you know, if they were trying to hold the secret, like we were talking last night about how the child, the baby Yoda in The Mandalorian, it was a complete secret until they actually aired the episode, okay? This could have been their big secret they wanted to keep quiet until they actually aired. Now, most stories or most scoops that happen, the studio or whoever will come out and be like, okay, you got us, you found out our secrets, so we're just going to say yes, it's true or not. But nobody is saying that. Mm-hmm. Now, that I would say is a denial. Mm-hmm. But going back several years, okay, when they were casting the Solo film, okay, they were talking about the short list, people that were on it, and then came out that Alden Ehrenreich was going to be Han Solo. He was cast. But again, Disney or Lucasfilm did not confirm it. Come to Star Wars Celebration, I believe it was London, and their big surprise was, hey, guess what? We casted Han Solo, and here he is. And everyone was like, really? This is your big thing for the entire celebration? Everybody knew about this months ago. You just didn't confirm it, you know? So is it one of those things where Disney and Lucasfilm are just trying to play coy and be like, deny it, not say anything, to where they feel like it'll still be a surprise when it actually does happen?
Possible.
It's possible. I mean, I feel like they should have learned from that mistake, though, you know?
Right.
They should have been like, okay, well, we did this once, and people are upset that, we tried to come off as a surprise. We tried to lie about it. Yeah, exactly. So, but again, you know, nobody said anything about it. And that's kind of the most frustrating thing is like, okay, well, is Disney and Lucasfilm and everyone involved not say anything because it's not true? Or are they not say anything because it is true? Exactly. And that's kind of where it falls is... Given their past discretions, that's what makes me at least a little bit believe that it might actually be true because of what they've done, like I said, with the Solo casting in the past. Whereas if I didn't have that history to look at, I would have been like, okay, well, they're not saying anything because it's not true. But given the past history, it makes me believe it could be. Exactly. All right. So let's look at it on the other side of it. Ahsoka Tano, a character who back in 2008 first premiered in the Star Wars Clone Wars theatrical film that kicked off the Clone Wars animated series. And one thing about it is this character at the beginning was pretty hated, actually. Okay?
She was super annoying.
Exactly, super annoying. People didn't like her. I myself didn't like her at all. Okay? But as the Clone Wars progressed, voiced by Ashley Eckstein, she started to become a fan favorite, okay? And then at the end of Clone Wars, which we thought was the end of Clone Wars, Season 5, Clone Wars was being canceled because Disney had just bought Lucasfilm. And the last we see of Ahsoka is her walking away from the Jedi Order. Fast forward a little bit, and we see her in Star Wars Rebels. She plays a good part of that series. And again, people are thinking she might not walk away from it. Turns out she does. And then at the end of Star Wars Rebels, spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it, she and the character of Sabine, after the events of the first trilogy or after Return of the Jedi, decide they're going to go out to the unknown regions and try to find their friend Ezra. Mandalorian takes place 5 years later. If she was to pop up, of course, the big question would be what happened to looking for Ezra? And also... there's a question about the fact that Ashley Eckstein has been such an ambassador for this character, going back to those first couple of years as well, where the character wasn't very well liked. She said in interviews where, like, there's times where, you know, she got a lot of, bad messages, emails, people like, saying bad things to her that she would cry, and which is not good at all. But through it all, the character became, better, more well-liked, I guess you would say. And again, now she's a fan favorite to where everyone loves Ahsoka for the most part. I like her. I don't like her as much as you. So, as the big Ahsoka fan in the household, probably in the city at least, I would say, what do you think? Okay, the fact that this character, number one, could be in The Mandalorian, given the time frame. Number two would be Rosario Dawson and not Ashley Eckstein. And then also tying into that, the fact that she's going to make the jump to live action.
That's a lot of questions.
Okay.
Well, let me just start with her moving from... I'll start with moving from
animated to live action.
So, in the past, I had always said for sure, I just didn't think that they would do that with this character. For several reasons. Number one, Dave Filoni, this is his baby. I mean, Ahsoka is his brainchild. He created that character. He has been the one that has basically been completely in control of her destiny as a character. Where she's coming from, where she's going. It's his, that's his thing. And, and he has largely kept his role with Lucasfilm in the animated realm. Uh-huh. So it seemed unusual to me that she would cross over because I couldn't see him allowing somebody else to determine her fate. Mm-hmm. However, now that he is involved in The Mandalorian, if she was gonna cross over into live action, this would be the place.
It'd be under his watch,
Right. He would still be the one that would be largely responsible for deciding what she's doing, where she's going, how her character is going to be used. So, as much as I don't think that they would move her into live action because of that. If there was going to be a time, this would be it. However, I still don't think that they're going to move her from animation to live action. For another reason is they never have.
Yeah.
They've never had a character really that has been solely used in the now they've had characters from the live action that they've put into the animation.
Not true. Okay, no, Saw Gerrera. He was Clone Wars first.
I guess that's true. Okay, so there's one situation.
There is one situation
that they put from the animated realm and they moved him into the live action.
Uh-huh.
But in that case, they took the same voice actor.
No.
He didn't voice him? Oh, he voiced him in Rebels.
Yeah, he voiced him. Okay, so what happened was...
Well, in Clone Wars, though, he was a teenager.
Exactly. It was a different voice, so then they cast Forrest Whitaker, and then they went back to put him in Rebels. They brought Forrest Whitaker.
Voice.
And in which case, in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, it's Saw Gerrera, and it's still Forrest Whitaker, mainly because it's around the same time frame.
Right, that's different. In Clone Wars, he was like a teenager.
Yeah, so Clone Wars, the reason it was a different voice, because number one, it was starting off, but also he was a young man versus everything else he's been around the same time frame.
Yeah, he's been older. Okay, so this wouldn't exactly be able to flow the same way, but anyway. So anyway, it's unusual. Star Wars doesn't generally do that. They tend to keep their characters that are in each individual world in their each individual world. Not always, not exclusively, obviously, but they generally do.
Which is not really a good thing, you know? I mean, I have talked about, you especially, talking about how the people making the films and other things need to utilize
the story group,
the books, the characters created in comics, stuff like that, instead of just, making up their own stuff.
Right. But in the same token, I don't want them to take things from the book and put them into the movies if it's going to cause more stress than it needs. Like, for example, we've said before, in The Rise of Skywalker, that new general that, popped up.
Pride. General Pride.
This character. They could have taken any number of generals, military people, who actually were used in the books before, who supported the Empire. I mean, I've said before, I want them to bring Sloane in. She is very, prominent in a lot of the books. If they're looking for somebody who would be still supporting the Empire, who would be somebody who
loyal to Palpatine,
who could control Hux. I mean, she knew him when he was a kid. Mm-hmm. It would have been ideal to pull her out. But one of the main reasons they could have done that is because they could have popped her in the movie, and people who don't know who she is wouldn't have cared. They would have been same as everybody else did this situation. They would have been oh, who is this? Because that's what we all said. Who is General Pride?
Mm-hmm.
What the hell? it would have been the exact same reaction, except people like us who have read the books would have been like, oh, cool, that's General Sloane, Admiral Sloane, whatever. Like, we would have gotten a kick out of it.
Well.
But what?
Well, yeah, no, I'm just adding to your point, going back to Solo, Darth Maul, where, like, people were like, wait, I thought he died in episode 1, but people who had watched Clone Wars were like, yes!
Right. But the thing that with those situations, too, is when you bring them in, the people who do know who they are aren't going to be like, wait a minute. What does this mean now? Like, where they're going to start freaking out. Like, that's what worries me about bringing Ahsoka into Mandalorian. It's like you said, Mandalorian takes place, time-wise, about 5 years after
Return of the
Jedi. So, it's about 5 years after we've last seen Ahsoka at the end of Rebels. In that time period, the last that anybody knows about Ahsoka, and this isn't like a little tiny dinky thing. This is a huge thing. I mean,
if you're someone who is involved in the more than just the movies, such as the animated series, the number one story you want told, where's Ezra?
So if she pops up in The Mandalorian, people who don't know who she is, people who watch The Mandalorian, because there's a lot of Star Wars fans who never watched anything but the movies that are watching Mandalorian.
Yeah, I would still consider, if I have my little categories of how I divide Star Wars fandom or whatever, I would still consider people that watch just Mandalorian in the movies Padawans. If they cross over to the animated, I'll give them knighthood, but if they're just watching Mandalorian, that's one of those things that a casual viewer would still watch.
Right. So I have no idea percentage-wise what this is, but I would say a large number of people that watch The Mandalorian don't know who Ahsoka is. They don't know the character. Maybe they might recognize her and be like, I think she's in Star Wars somewhere.
Well, just look at the people who didn't know what the Darksaber was.
Right, exactly. I mean, but that almost... Right. You're getting me off track. Can I just finish what I'm saying?
Go for it.
So people don't know who she is. The most people who watch the show don't know who she is. So if they bring her in, for those people, it's just any other new Star Wars character, which means there would need to be a particular reason that it is Ahsoka. Like, there has to be something. If they're going to bring her into Mandalorian, there would need to be something where it needed to be her specifically. It couldn't be any other, like, Lost Jedi or whatever. Like, it would have to be Ahsoka. Because I just feel very strongly that they have to take that into consideration. Because bringing her in, for the people who do know who she is going to raise so many other questions.
And they're going to be really pissed if you don't use her properly.
Exactly. I mean, like, bringing her in, like I said, immediately the first thing I said was, we're going to see her, and the first question I'm going to have is, well, where the fuck is Ezra? Uh-huh. Like, you can't just pop her in here and then not explain about Ezra, because everybody's been desperate to know what's happening to Ezra. But then also, you can't really, like, start explaining where Ezra is, because...
Don't tell me in a little cameo.
Yeah,
Tell me the actual story.
I need to know the actual story. So, like, bringing her in and not explaining it is going to annoy me. But bringing her in and actually explaining a tiny piece of it is also going to annoy me. But if she starts explaining it, the fans who don't know who that is are going to be like, what the hell is she talking about? Right. So that doesn't really make any sense. And then it's going to be like, well, where's Sabine? Last we saw you, where's Sabine? What happened to Sabine? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Bringing her in doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I can't granted, we don't know yet what's coming at the end of this new Clone Wars.
Yes.
Because the end of the new Clone Wars is supposed to be, allegedly, the Battle of Mandalore. Uh-huh. And, like you said, at the end of last season of Mandalorian, there turns up the Darksaber.
Well, no, the Darksaber was at the end of Rebels, too. Remember, Bo-Katan has it.
Right. Yeah, okay. I know that. I'm saying they're obviously bringing Mandalore into this, is my point. Okay. And since the last that alleged, we don't know for sure, but it's looking like that you people are thinking the Clone Wars finale here is going to be Battle of Mandalore. Mm-hmm. Ahsoka last left with Sabine, who is Mandalorian and has wielded the Darksaber. Mm-hmm. We know that the Darksaber is playing a part in Mandalorian, the show. So, I mean, it's not completely far-fetched that Ahsoka would be in some way, shape, or form involved in what's happening.
I get what you're saying. Okay, yes.
Yeah, so if you just let me finish my thoughts instead of interrupting me, like, that's
my show.
Well, then why do you have me on?
Go ahead. Go.
Anyway, that's my point. Like, I can see how Ahsoka might play a part, might have something to contribute in The Mandalorian. Okay. I just feel like bringing her in raises too many other questions, and I don't want for fans, people who care about Ahsoka to be happy, it would have to then become the Ahsoka show. Uh-huh. and not the Mandalorian.
Well,
And then,
I think you could make her a supporting character and still make her don't give her a cameo, make her an actual supporting character where she's along for the ride.
I don't know.
I think because I thought she was used great in Rebels, where she wasn't the main character,
No.
but she was, a side character next to Ezra and Kanan and all them. I thought she was used great.
No,
in
I
Rebels.
think so too. I thought she was used really. And then that brings us obviously to the other question about how do I feel about Rosario Dawson?
Okay, yes, let's get to that. Okay, now that's kind of a question I have is the fact that it's Rosario Dawson, a fine actress. She's been working for years in some good stuff. She was in Rent. I always forget that she was in the live action version of Rent. Clerks 2, Sin City.
Yeah,
the Marvel Netflix series. She's
a good actress.
Encased not only that but in the geek culture as well too. So give her props for that. And the fact that, when they asked her what Star Wars character you want to play, and she said Ahsoka, I mean, the fact that, an actress like that knows who Ahsoka is, you got to give at least a little props as far as that goes. Yeah. But putting her in live action, and it's not Ashley Eckstein, what do you think?
That's the part that I don't like about it. Like, I feel like she would do fine. I think she's a good actress. I think she could pull it off.
Correct.
I mean, I don't know how she could pull it off in terms of the physicality of the character.
Well, I thought Rosario Dawson is always older than she was. She's actually your age.
Yeah, I know.
I thought she was always older because she's been around for so long.
Oh, no,
I thought she was older than.
She's my age. Yeah,
I thought she was.
Oh, yeah, she's just a few months older than me.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I think she could do it. But.
Yeah, no, but I don't mean like. I mean, like, for example, when you look at what they're doing with Darth Maul, Sam Witwer is an incredibly physically fit person. Sure, he's not martial art, but maybe he is. I have no idea. But he's incredibly physically fit. But they still bring in, what's his face? Ray Park to do the physical stuff because of his martial arts background. Now, you've seen how they use Ahsoka in all the things.
Rebels and Clone Wars, yes.
Right. I mean, that's not Rosario Dawson to me. She's not like, I don't know. Maybe she can do all that shit. I don't know. But then again, maybe they're going to pull stuff like they do in the films where they have Christopher Lee doing fucking backflips and shit.
Well, also
too.
The fact that, if they have her in Ahsoka, that's a lot of, like, makeup and stuff like that. You could easily hide that during an action sequence and have, like, a stunt woman.
Right. But then it kind of floats me back to the thing where, are they going to try to pull this nonsense where they have her in the body but have Ashley talking like they do with Maul?
No, that would be horrible.
No, I agree. But that's what I'm saying. Like, where does this... Like, they keep... I just saw somebody... I don't think it was a reputable site, but about a Darth Maul series. Like, I know that was another one of those nonsense
I believe
sites.
it was We Gotta Cover It, yes.
It was.
Brought to you by JR.
JR.
Thank you very much, bud. And by the way, that's been popped up several times in several years as well. So
Right. So, that's the same kind of thing. Like, they did it in Solo where they had Ray Park as the person, but... Sam Witwer doing the voice because Sam Witwer has ultimately been the voice of Maul.
Yeah.
And so, like, with this, it just seems to me like when people see Ahsoka and hear Ahsoka, Ashley Eckstein is what they hear. I mean, she voiced the book, the audiobook, Ahsoka audiobook. She was the voice in that. She was the voice in Clone Wars. She was the voice in Rebels. She is Ahsoka. I mean, her clothing line is Ahsoka. Like, she is Ahsoka. So bringing anybody else to be Ahsoka when Ashley is still there, I get, like, maybe in the future, like, down the road when Ashley's, like, old or something, but she's young. She's also, I think, my age.
I think so, too. But, yeah, but also, she's done mainly, like I said, voice acting, but I've seen her in some live action stuff. She's an actual actress, yes.
Yeah. It just seems to me unusual also for Dave Filoni to trust anyone else to do Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Like, it just seems to me if he's going to bring her to live action, I would imagine he would at least, like... I think if Ashley wanted to do it, that would be the
I think
option.
As much as we know, Dave Filoni created the character, but Ashley Eckstein, I keep saying that wrong.
I think it's
Eckstein gave her a voice, has always been her voice. So I feel like in a way, this character is just as much hers as it is his.
Yeah.
Just as much as he has a say, I feel like she should have some kind of say as well in all of it.
And maybe she has. Maybe she doesn't want to do it. I don't know. I just don't see that as being likely.
Yeah, exactly. But with me, it's... Of course, Rosario Dawson's a fine actress. I can see her in the role. I truly can see her doing Ahsoka, especially that part of Ahsoka where, like, as she's gotten older, like just to jump from Clone Wars to Rebels, she's a much more calm person, much more at peace.
She's not that sassy kid now.
Yeah, exactly.
She's an adult.
And then taking that next step into, whatever she would be past Return of the Jedi, I can see, Rosario Dawson having that, what's that calmness, and saying those lines. And I totally see it. It's not about that. It's, again, about taking this character that has been in animation, that has been, I don't want to say an underground character, but a true icon of big Star Wars fans. What you would call real Star Wars fans,
right.
Okay? And then taking that character and then giving her to the general public and being like, they won't care.
No, they won't
We
care.
will care. They won't care. So why should we give it to them if they don't care?
It's like exactly what I said. Like most people who watch the show, she'll pop up and they're gonna be like, "Oh, look, it's another one of those aliens that has those weird things on their head."
But
and she's not a Twi'lek, number one. So, Sassy Pants fans out there who don't even know, she's a Togruta. But anyway.
So, but at the same time, again, what happened when The Mandalorian popped up, or when The Mandalorian came on? People were like, well, it was Boba Fett. And I'm like, no, it's Mandalorian. Go watch these Clone Wars episodes. Go watch these Rebels episodes, okay? Whoa, the Darksaber, what's that? Here you go. Go watch these episodes. So, again, putting her in live action for the general public, again, maybe a way to get people to hop on Disney Plus and watch more Clone Wars, watch more Rebels. Expand your horizons of the Star Wars universe. Because then they're like, oh, well, I really like this, Ahsoka character in the Clone Wars. Great. Here's a book that describes where she was between Clone Wars and Rebels. Or, hey, I really like Kanan. Okay, great. Here's a Kanan book about how Kanan and Hera met. Here's a comic book about, what happened to Kanan during Order 66. It's a gateway to the larger Star Wars universe if they bring this character in.
If they do it right.
If they do it right.
Yeah.
So I get, where that rationale could come from. But again, I don't know if you feel this way the same way I do. It's like, this character is something special to the Star Wars fan community. So, again, I feel like we have to protect her.
I mean, I agree. I have a freaking Ahsoka tattoo.
That's what I was saying. So, I said I like Ahsoka. I'm not even that big of an Ahsoka fan as you are. And I feel like we have to protect this character and almost feel like a little possessive to be like, no. You
can't bring her
You only
into
get
this.
Ahsoka if you truly know Star Wars.
Yeah.
Okay? But at the opposite side, it's like, okay, again, she could be another gateway to the general audience to get more people into more things Star Wars besides just the movies and Mandalorian. So,
I mean, maybe. I'm not going to be like crazy upset where I won't watch Mandalorian if this turned out to be true. Like, I am sure that Rosario Dawson would do an amazing job.
And Dave Filoni would make sure she's treated well.
Right, and Dave Filoni is not going to let them do something to this character that doesn't make sense and isn't right. I trust how he's going to use her. I trust him. I trust what Dave Filoni is doing. But it's going to be hard for me to wrap my head around watching Ahsoka and not hearing Ashley's voice. I mean, Ashley Eckstein is like one of the sweetest human beings you will ever meet in your life.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh my God. Like, when we met her at Celebration last time, she's like literally the cutest, most adorable thing you'll ever meet.
Any interviews or anything, yeah, she's pretty
And
nice.
she loves Ahsoka. She loves being Ahsoka. Like, just the things that she has, and what she's done for women in geek community, the nerd community,
with her universe
line that she launched, that it's not just about Star Wars. I mean, it's just about women who love Star Wars and other, nerd things, having an outlet, not having to go buy your Star Wars t-shirts in the men's section. It's about actually having really cute, Disney, different kind of Star Wars, all kinds of different, things in the geek world that we can have our own version of. I mean, Ashley has done so much stuff, and, like, it's just, for me, she is Ahsoka. She is Ahsoka. And it's going to be hard to see somebody else try to be her. But
exactly. So.
I just know I'm going to be overly critical of watching Rosario Dawson or anybody else as Ahsoka.
I think a lot of people are,
and it's going to take away from my enjoyment of having the character in it. Because I'm going to be like, that's not how she would say it, or that's not what she would do, or this doesn't seem right to me. Like...
Exactly, okay.
I don't know.
All right, well, I think we kind of wrapped it up a little bit nicely. So, guys, time for your turn to fire back, of course. dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com. You can leave comments in the various sites, Facebook, group, Twitter accounts, fire back. Let us know, number one, of course, do you think the story's true? Because that's, the whole big part of this is, we've seen this rumor circle for several years now, and now it's circling back again with maybe some more reputable sources, but still not confirmed by the actual people it's about. So do you think they're playing coy and still trying to hide it? Or do you think that they're, not saying anything just because it is true or not true or, whatever? And then, of course, the other side of it is, what do you think about taking this, very personal and big Star Wars fan favorite character and giving her to the live action general audience, not only, for open for more scrutiny, I guess, but also a completely different actress, maybe played a different way. Fireback, we want to know what you think, guys. But that's going to be it for us today. Of course, any other Star Wars questions, you can always hit us up on the Facebook group and Twitter account. We'll be glad to talk Star Wars 24/7.
Well, not 24/7.
Well, come on now. You would.
We need to sleep
You would.
some.
You would. You can find me personally, Slim Dayspring12 on Twitter and Instagram. Guys, don't forget also, I been doing my March Madness own quarantine brackets where we're going through every day and doing matchups for the DC Animated Shared Universe. Today's matchup, I believe, is Justice League Throne of Atlantis versus Suicide Squad Hell to Pay, a Suicide Squad film which is actually better than the live action one that Warner Brothers gave us. I think anyone who's seen both of them will say that is true, but you go into the Facebook group and Twitter and make your votes, of course, and we'll go on from there, guys. Well, that's it. Go out, guys. Be safe out there. Be responsible out there.
No, at home.
At home. Either way.
Don't be out there.
Keep
Be
yourself
at
busy. And if you were, curious as to what we're talking about, hey, guess what? Clone Wars and Rebels is there to learn all about Ahsoka. Of course, we're always open to recommend books and comics to read as well. But that's going to be it. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your life. And until next time, may the Force be with us all.